Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're in Luke chapter 23, and today we'll be looking at verse 26. This is an interesting verse because it introduces us to another person that Jesus encounters on his way to the cross at Golgotha. In verse 26, it says, "Now as they led him away," and this is after these three unfair trials before Pilate. Pilate 3 times saying, "I find no fault in him," still allows him to be condemned to be crucified, a terrible, terrible, terrible death that would be put upon the worst of criminals. Now, as they led him away, Jesus, they laid hold of a certain man. Now, they led him away. This reminds me of Isaiah chapter 53, where it says, he was led as a lamb to the slaughter, a man without any guile, a man led as a man who was led as a lamb. And then it says they laid hold of a certain man, Simon of Cyrenian, who was coming from the country. And on him they laid the cross that he might bear it after Jesus. Have to get this picture. There's Jesus on his way to the cross. He's carrying probably a crossbeam of the cross. It's heavy, very heavy. He's been beaten, he's been mocked, he's been beat around. And at this point, physically, maybe he's not even able to carry this cross, but he's doing his best. But they find this man walking by, Simon from Cyrene. And by the way, Cyrene is a country next to where Libya was, next to where Libya is today, the present-day Libya, on the northern course of Africa, about 800 miles away from Jerusalem. Simon, no doubt, was a Jew from Cyrene, and he had come to Passover to worship. And there he, because of his religion and his willingness to make this sacrifice and spend Passover there in Jerusalem, God does a great miracle in his life. And he came because of his religion, but I'm telling you, he left with a relationship. There's no doubt about it. And so literally, Cyrene was a place where many of the Jews had settled probably about 3rd century BC when the Greeks were ruling the world. And they went there during the diaspora when they were being dispersed. And possibly some had even migrated to Egypt during the Babylonian captivity and then went on over to this beautiful place that became a commercial center of the world there in Cyrene. Now, it says they laid on him the cross that he might bear it after Jesus. It's interesting, the different Gospels. In Matthew chapter 27, verse 32, it says, "A man of Cyrene by the name of Simon was compelled to carry the cross." So he's just standing there probably on his way to the 9 o'clock prayer meeting at the temple. That's what he came to do. He came for Passover. He came to pray. He came seeking to acknowledge the Passover that God had provided for him. The people of Israel in the land of Egypt centuries before. And so here he is, has religion, but he needs a relationship, and he is forever changed. So even Jesus, on his way to his cross, the God in his divine providence has this man Simon there. And it also tells us in Mark's Gospel in chapter 15, verse 21, that he was the father of Alexander and Rufus. And they compelled him to carry the cross of Jesus. And so we know that Jesus was bearing his own cross in John chapter 19, verse 17 initially, but that came to a point that it's too heavy. It's very possible, symbolically, Jesus did not have to show any guilt because he was not guilty. Guilty people carried the cross to their execution. Jesus was not guilty. So God in his providence took this cross and put it on Simon. Now I just can't get over the fact that here's a man just pulled out of the crowd, but God knows that he's seeking for truth. So he came with religion, but he left with a relationship. How wonderful is that? He left with a heart that lived for God. And later on, even Paul would acknowledge, we believe his son. There it says in the book of Romans chapter 16, verse 13, a Christian named Rufus, who was probably the son of Simon. So God changed not only Simon, but began to change many other people because of what happened on the way to the cross. My friend, trust Jesus today. He'll change your life and impact your family, and who knows, many, many others later. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.